Hello everyone, and Madayaw! It's me, author Maita. So this is my story, Big Bad Wolf meets his big beautiful mate. So this is a story which is near and dear to my heart. It's about Gus, a werewolf, in the, should we say, the wilds of Manila. So his pack, the Urbane Pack, are running the Wolves Resort and Casinos in Manila. So it's fictional and it's set in what's supposed to be the reclaimed area right there, along with City of Dreams, Okada, all those. So we're gonna insert that somewhere there. Anyways, just pretend there's a big resort there run by these werewolves. So if you haven't guessed, by this time, werewolves, vampire shifters, they're accepted in normal society. And these bunch of werewolves think that, yeah, we could probably make it in this city. Because they've been setting up resorts all over the world. This is their newest venture. And then they got caught up in the pandemic. So now they're going to try to make this resort work. And in the midst of it all, we have Gus Urbane, who is building a supernatural friendly bar, which is located in the Wolves. And then he has this big crush on Rose. Rose is human. Well, not quite. She is a witch, or she has witch blood. And if you've been reading my previous chapters, we have introduced her, and she's actually a shall we say, a victim of her weird boyfriend who beats her up and takes her money and stuff. So things start to get heated now. I know this is quite serious. Themes here are a little serious, and Gus is trying to play things cool. He doesn't know quite what's happening, of course, because Rose doesn't tell him anything. So it's up to you to find out from these stories. So this is chapter 8, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks, guys. Here it is. Chapter 8, One Shadow Too Many. Stella brought her to the buffet in the casino right after their session. The Triple Dragon Dim Sum and Dining Experience was a premier dim sum and Asian food restaurant located at the second floor of the casino. It was very expensive, but worth every peso spent. Stella really wanted her store to be successful. She thought of having a business dinner with Rose here to bring her luck. They were eating in the Golden Area, a zone reserved for pack members and VIP guests. Most of the food was in the 100-meter buffet table, but in the Golden Area, waiters can bring them anything they wanted. Stella had most of it brought to them. She already knew what she liked, since she had eaten here many times already. That was the highlight of the Triple Dragon Dim Sum and Dining Experience, the 100-meter buffet. The best Asian food with Chinese influences were served. Rose would laugh when the waiter read out the dish as he served it. Some of these food might actually... none of these food might actually be from China. Stella said Marcus claimed that at least 25% was. There were four main chefs in the There were four main chefs in the Triple Dragon Dim Sum and Dining Experience. A Chinoy, a Singaporean, a Honger, and a mainlander each contributed to the buffet. Rose wanted to see the famed 100-meter buffet. The display was said to be amazing. She saw pictures of it in her tablet. Also, she wanted to try other things than Stella had picked. She read some reviews of the place. There were mini pork buns that she really wanted to eat. She also wanted to pick the kebabs. The buffet table was in the center of the restaurant. It ran the length of it. People can walk on both sides. Food was always replenished by the servers. She was piling her plate when she noticed Elle right beside her. He was piling his plate too. He didn't seem to notice her. Elle? Oh, what are you doing here? A client is treating me to dinner. What about you? I won in the casino. Casino? You've been playing in the casino? Yeah, so? Since you've won, can I get my money back then? Is that all you think about? Money? No. But you promised. I said it was going to our house fund. Then why are you playing in the casino? I'm trying to earn money here. She didn't buy it, but if she kept pressing, he'd hit her again, so she turned her back on him and made her way to the golden area. You're impossible, she muttered. Where do you think you're going? Away, Elle, and that's what you should be doing away as well. Go away. Elle was never going to get a job. She didn't need the cards to tell her that. I see it. You're judging me for eating well. You're the one always eating, so... You're the one always eating. You're gaining weight again, fatty. You think you're the only one who deserves to eat well around this place. You're making a scene. Can't I eat well once in a while? That's not what I'm saying. Well, what are you saying, Rosie? Elle gripped her arm. Rose was afraid of spilling the food on her plate, and causing even more of a scene. Her hands began to tremble. Let me go. Her voice was weak, but she really wanted to go. Let go, said a menacing low voice. Rose looked to see who it was. Ryan and Stella stood behind Elle. Ryan's head was turning wolf. She wanted the floor to swallow her. She didn't want any of this going back to Marcus or Gus. If you want to continue eating with a chopstick, take your hand off Miss Rose or lose it, he warned. Elle dropped her arm and backed away. Hey man, I don't want no trouble. Then leave. I just want to eat. Leave Miss Rose alone and you get to stay. He turned to Rose. Are you all right? Rose nodded. Stella led her back to the golden area. When they seated at the table, Rose heaved a sigh. She looked at Stella and Ryan. Sorry about that. Why? He should be the one saying sorry. Should I beat it out of him? Or should I tell Gus? No! She didn't want Gus to know. It was nothing. He was nothing. If you tell Gus, it would cause a bigger scene. Stella squeezed her arm. He seems terribly interested in you, that man. That man seemed terribly interested in you. Me? I'm nobody special. Of course you are. You're pretty and very talented. That sleazeball was checking you out like you were a morsel. Or more like his personal ATM. Rose ducked her head. Listen, Rose, this is coming from someone who's been there. I thought nobody liked me because of my size. My family kept telling me that what a fat pig I was. Caleb and Gus changed my mind. Well, Caleb first. He courted me like olden times style. Then Gus tried to hit on me. They showed me that handsome men like women, not for their size, but for their personalities. Except Gus. He really likes them big, Ryan teased. Stella elbowed him. Don't listen to Ryan. True, Gus doesn't like skinny girls. It's just instincts to feed their loved ones. He likes you. No mistake, you are attractive, Miss Rose. Any man can see that. Wolf can see that, Ryan said. What he said. Now, let's eat. We'll get the servers to bring you whatever you like so nobody would bother you again. Stella called the waiter and asked for scallops and lobsters. Rose smiled. She never thought of herself as attractive. Stella, she noticed, wasn't model-less pretty, but Caleb seemed so over the moon for her. She had a bounce to her step, but she was still shy. After they ate, Ryan left to leave the girls to roam the shops. He happened to walk by the casinos and happened to find the buffet. When Elle was bothering her, Stella spotted him and called him over. Stella took Rose around some of the trendier shops. The shops at Wolves wrapped around the plaza and connected the gardens and the casinos. It had 3 floors, but only 2 floors were open since the pandemic hit. Many of the stores slated to open this year had postponed. Basement 1 and 2 were also supposed to contain more establishment. Stella, bored most days since she didn't have to work anymore, spent her time roaming the shops or gardening on the roof. She pointed out that not every shop carried her size, and she was down to a size 18. Rose was a size 20. This shop has lace lingerie that actually goes to a size 24. Stella was so excited. Caleb kept asking me to buy more. I didn't want to because it's a bit expensive, but he can be very persuasive. It does make my figure look good. Scrap that. I look sexy in them. We should try some. They entered Lingerie Kitties. It was bright and ultra-modern, but it had Grecian columns all around. All the lingerie were grouped by color. A shop assistant came and assisted them. Stella selected a few pieces for her to try on. These will make you feel so sexy. Stella had different lacewear brought to them. This store also pampers you. They serve milk tea and champagne by request. Stella ordered 2 milk teas for them. They tried some of the laces on, and it was a treat to see herself differently. My husband goes crazy for this. Honestly, Caleb even admitted to me that he didn't think he'd be attracted to anyone big, but after the first night we met, he just couldn't get me off his head. Couldn't get me out of his head. He didn't know I was his mate then. Really? Truth be told, when Caleb mentioned he had a wife, Rose assumed she was either buff like Caleb or model-esque and tall. She didn't expect Stella. Rose looked at herself in the mirror. She was not as tall as Stella. She was also bigger. Who was she kidding? You know what you need? Stella broke her musing. You, girl, need a girdle. Rose blushed. I don't know. Those things are tight. Stella laughed. They're meant to be. It's gotta hold everything. You wear bulky clothes, so you don't know. Once you wear tighter tops and leggings, you need some just to make sure nothing's jiggly, especially in the gym. Rose hated going to the gym if there were other people there. She knew her fats jiggled and when she used the treadmill or the stationary bike. It was why she used the gym at 3 in the morning. Only Gus and occasionally other pack members doing their workout were there. Only Gus and were there. And they never judged. I'll tell you what, it's my treat. I'll treat you to the girdle that holds it all in. The newer girdles can even withstand seawater and gym sweat, Stella offered. Oh, I couldn't. You were already so generous with the buffet, Rose said. It'll be charged to Caleb anyways. I was a sorry, typo. I have a pretty big allowance that I haven't been touching since we married. Think of this as payment for taking up your time. This is consultancy work. We're doing research. Before Rose could protest, Stella asked the attendant for a girdle in Rose's size. Not to be rude, Rose tried it on. It really did hold her body well. To test out her theory, she tried jumping up and down in the dressing room. Everything held well. You should wear tighter tops. Unless this is the standard witch uniform. Mad Mariah always looked like she was going to a flamenco dance. Rose laughed. She does have her style. I'm still trying to find my style. I don't doubt you'll find it, Rose. You're very artistic. Stella paid for the girdle, but Rose insisted to pay for her own lace teddies. She didn't want Stella paying for something so intimate. After their shopping excursion, Rose went back to her tent. She promised Stella she'd do a reading to see if her suppliers were people she could work well with. Stella was ecstatic. She thanked Rose and left to care for her plants on the roof. Rose went to work. She was angry at Elle for making a scene. She was angry at him for treating her badly recently. It used to be just banter, smack here and there, but that was it. He always came up with a harebrained scheme that often involved her money and never returned it. Since coming to Manila, he'd been worse. No, she admitted, he'd been getting worse for a couple of years now. So when Aunt Mariah presented her with the opportunity, it was a definite yes. The possibility of losing Elle was there, and she risked it. Her life was spiraling out of control, and she felt like a zombie trying to survive. But Elle insisted to come to Manila with her. She actually left him already, but he hopped in a bus and texted her to wait up in the next town. Now thinking back, she should have left him. After her day, she went to the gym, used the treadmill for 5 minutes, drank some complimentary healthy fruit juice, took a shower, and went to her van to sleep. In the morning, she got up out of her van. Elle was waiting there. She was not in the mood. Coffee and breakfast should be on her agenda, and a shower. She wanted to start her day already, not deal with Elle. I'm sorry, Rosie. I didn't mean to imply that you shouldn't eat well, and you shouldn't imply that I shouldn't eat well either, he started. Rose frowned. Elle needed a shower and redo his apology. I never once implied that you shouldn't eat well. I was implying that since you won in the casino, you should pay me back the 6,000. I'll put it in the house fund. I'll hold the house fund. I'll withdraw it this week. Promise. Let's be all right again, Rosie. You know you love me. Until the next time you're in a bad mood. But you know I have a little anger problem. You're the one who understands me. Even my own family doesn't understand me. They like you more than me. They did. Elle's family considered him useless and good for nothing. I forgive you, Elle, but no more hitting, and promise to bring me to a buffet for a date. I promise. And you have to pay. Yeah, fine. And it should be a real date. Yeah, we good? Fine, we are good. Rick was in a bad mood. 2 restaurants had to be shut down to be disinfected. 2 of the staff tested positive. One was a waiter in one of the cafes at the shops, while the other was a chef in the Jellyfish Cafe. The city shut down the 2 establishments for 2 weeks. They claimed that was the time that germs dissipated. As much as Rick was irritated, Marcus was livid. The city was threatening to close the whole of Wolves. Rick was the head of F&B. Resorts thrive because of food and beverages. At present, all the bars were either closed or half capacity. To top it all, he tried to cook to relieve some tension. He burnt the cookies and his souffle caved. Worse, the ribs he grilled was burnt. Gus nearly murdered him. Perhaps he was cursed. He went to Rose for a reading. Maybe she can find out. He came bearing a bag of burgers from a fast food joint at the shops. He didn't want to risk bringing her salmonella or some equally bad luck cooking. He didn't want to be murdered by both Gus and Marcus. He had just mated. His poor mate would be left a widow. Hi, Rick. Come in. Rick came and deposited the bag in front of her. Please, eat. He sat on the plush carpet in front of her. Thanks. I was actually starving. It was 5 in the afternoon, too early for dinner. Rose opened the bag to a meltdown of cheese. The wrapper was coated in it and made a mess. I'm cursed! Roke broke down and cried. Whoa, Rick, what's the matter? He told her what had taken place this day and all the bad luck happening. I'm cursed! Cursed! Rose looked at him while cleaning her fingers from the cheese. I don't see anything. Any what? Curse link. If someone cursed you, there would be a link to the one who inflicted this on you. There isn't. What's happening to me? Well, let's find out. She took out her oracle cards and drew. Thunder, storm, a crackpot. What does that mean? You're out of alignment. Huh? A series of unfortunate events occurred and it threw your groove. It resulted in your distraction. How do we fix this? Well, you should be the one to get yourself out. It seems you got yourself in here in the first place. I don't know how. I'll need some herbs. Anything, we have them. Moringa, laurel, sage, rosemary, dried rose, and mint. Can they all be dried herbs? Yes. What then? You'll need your wife's help. I'm sure she'll help. All right, send her over and I'll give her instructions. Is it a full moon tonight? Yeah. Good, perfect timing. You'll have to do this tonight. I'll send Marty over right away. An hour later, Marty, Rick's mate, came to Rose's tent. She was a tall lady with a pleasant disposition. She was half Filipina and half Australian. Currently, she was working as an online teacher. I heard something is happening to Rick. He's gathering herbs now. Your husband is experiencing a crisis of cooking. Huh? His confidence got shattered. Oh, what can we do? Well, the closure of the two establishments at Wolf's isn't his fault, but since food is his domain, he took it rather personal. Marty sighed. Rick can be like that. He sets such high standards for himself. He'll need to get himself out of it. That's hard, since my mate's a bit hard-headed. I believe most wolves are, Rose smiled. Do you believe in placebo? You'll placebo him? How? I've asked him to get some cleansing herbs, which is actually cleansing herbs, so it'll dissipate bad feelings. The cooking and confidence part will be all up to him. So you'll prepare him the tea of herbs. You'll need to do this because I'm afraid he might just set the whole wolves on fire if he touches fire with his current state of mind. Marty smiled. Yes, that would be wise. Well then, turn the cup clockwise 3 times and ask him to drink it. Any food he gets inspired after eating? She thought about it. Don't laugh, but it's actually my spicy chicken soup. It's a delicacy from the province. My grandmother always cooked. Rick loves it so much. Great. Can you cook it tonight? Tell him I said he needs to consume it under the moonlight. Creative. You are creative. Sometimes it's not about the cards. Sometimes it's just figuring out what a wolf needs. Indeed. Thanks, Rose. I hope this works. Me too. Rose saw Marty out of her tent. Marty promised to let Rose know if it worked. They waved goodbye and Marty left. Rose stood in front of the tent. There wasn't anyone who booked yet. She contemplated if she would take an early dinner. There was always food in the cafeteria, and she could get 2 meals a day. She waved back. The werewolves who were around the plaza waved at her. She waved back. As she stood there, she began to have an ominous feeling. It was not a good feeling. She had this feeling of doom. Something bad was going to happen. To whom? To her? To wolves? It was a Sunday, and Rose turned in early. Sitting on the floor for hours on end was not a joke. It hurt her hips. She decided to sleep it off. She was in her van fixing her clothes. She had to adjust her waistline, the waistline of her skirts. Because of her twice-a-day gym session, she was losing so much weight. She had to tighten the waistline. She was only wearing her lace under lingerie. There were days a girl needed to feel beautiful. Rosie, open up. You're not allowed in my van, Elle, she reminded him. Let's just talk. It gets lonely being so far from home, he said. Rose frowned. Elle missed his family? She felt bad. She didn't miss hers. With a sigh, she opened the door. Elle claimed it. Rose put away her clothes. Sorry. Elle climbed in. Let me fix this. Climbed in. Climbed in. Rose put away her clothes so he could sit beside her. Don't you miss home, Rosie? Rose shook her head. This bad as it sounds, I don't. I never felt at home back home. This place felt like home. He pouted. Because you get to eat a lot? Let me remind you that you get to eat sometimes too. Yeah, but I'm not such a pig that eating is the only thing that matters. What do you really want, Elle? Do you want to go home? Because she didn't. He shook his head. Nah, this place has so much opportunities. Also, I don't want to leave you. Thanks, Elle. I don't want to leave Manila. And I'm glad you're here. I would feel lonely if you left. Elle smiled, but he sat there in silence. Rose, feeling emboldened, kissed him. She was still in her new lingerie. Elle rarely was loving, but he always made her feel like she was not alone. What are you doing? He pushed her off. Rose landed on her van floor. I just wanted to kiss you. He made a face. I don't like kisses, remember? And what the hell are you wearing? I bought it. Makes me feel sexy. Elle burst out laughing. Sexy? You look like a pig in lace. What a waste. You should have just bought food for us instead. Speak for yourself. You spent the money in the casino. You won once, but how many times have you lost? He raised a fist, and she flinched. You're asking for it, Rosie? He didn't hit her, but the threat loomed. Go away, Elle. She took a shirt and put it on, then pulled the skirt. Rose was dressed and she took her bag and hopped off the van. Be back by the time I'm gone. Be gone by the time I come back. What's your problem? My problem? My problem is you. Why don't you just go back home? I'd rather be lonely than being hit. Before he could answer or hit her, she ran to the stairs that led to the plaza. Gus heard unmistakable cries from the ladies' shower room. His super hearing was loud and clear. Even if she tried to muffle her voice, it was Rose. It was Rose. He frowned and went to the ladies' shower room. He spots her crying in he spotted. Spotted her crying in the bathroom. Gus wanted to murder someone. Who would dare make Rose cry? He wanted to go wolf and tear down the walls. Rose? Gus' head popped into the gym shower room. It was empty, except for Rose. Since it was 3 a.m, nobody was around, not even the janitorial staff. Gus? Rose wiped her tears. What are you doing here? Rose tried to cry silently into a towel. She contemplated on returning the lace she and Stella bought. She was not beautiful. Stella was 1 in a million. She was not. I couldn't sleep. Why are you crying? He entered the shower room. She was standing near the big mirror, clutching a piece of lace in her hands. What's that? Nothing. I'm going to return it tomorrow. It's ugly? Tell me which shop, and I'll give 'em a piece of my mind. No, it's lovely. I think I'm the problem. I look fat and horrible. It's a waste of money. You are not. Little lingerie like this, it isn't me. I look like a fat whale in them. Put it on, and let me be the judge of that. She went to the shower stall and changed into the 2-piece mauve lace. The moment Rose exited the stall, Gus lost his breath. She was magnificent. Why did she not think she was not pretty? She was a goddess in lace. Slowly her legs carried her in front of the mirror. Beautiful. Really? I wouldn't lie to you. You are a delectable morsel. He was behind her, crowding her, but she leaned into him instead. Gus smiled and lowered his lips to her. What started as a slow, friendly kiss turned into a hot, passionate kiss. Gus needed a taste of her. Her fists were clutched to his chest, but she made no attempt to stop him. He further explored her neck, her chest, her generous breasts, even through the lace. Gus! Gus! Has nobody ever kissed these? She shook her head. He was going to devour these twin globes. He gripped her hips and pulled her closer. His hands roamed lower until it gripped her derriere and pressed her even closer to him. You are delectable. Gus, I've never... It made him pause for a second, just a second. Never done it in a shower room? He shook her head. Then I'll be very gentle. His voice, a mix of accent and animal. He resumed kissing her, breast through the lace, sucking the nipples into her mouth, humming in pleasure. Rose felt the vibrations down to her core. It was warm. It was maddening. She'd never felt like this before. There were nights where she had needs, when all she had were her hands. Never did she dare imagine anything like this. Things like this only happened to others, not her. But here she was, with a werewolf devouring her. She gave up herself to the wolves, to her needs. Nobody would fulfill them. Elle certainly wasn't. More, Gus. Make me feel something. He growled and explored her further. She felt the lower half of the lace begin to slide down her legs. Gus' fingers traced the inner thighs and went higher and higher until it found her core. It shocked her how much it felt wonderful. She gave a cry of joy when he hit the target. His fingers were big but gentle. He slid them around her seams. A second later, she felt it slip inside her and she groaned. Gus did a circular motion before starting to pump into her. He knew she was too innocent for this, but he couldn't help himself. He only prayed that Mad Mariah wouldn't find out and put a hex on him. Rose was... He wanted to sink into Rose. The door banged 3 times. Get a room! Gus let her go reluctantly. If he didn't, he was going to lose himself. I'm gonna murder that pup. I'm telling Caleb you're making out in his gym. It was Ryan. He was working out late at night as well. He let her go. If he didn't, he was going to make love to her right there in the shower room. Rose's first time shouldn't be in a public place. His first time with Rose. Shouldn't be in a public place. He also wanted to take his time. You are gorgeous, lace or without lace. Don't be ashamed of that. Don't also be ashamed of buying something fancy with your first profits. We need to reward ourselves once in a while. He pulled the lace underwear up, covering the beautiful bush he so wanted to devour. Rose sniffed, but she stopped crying. She did the moment he kissed her. Her face was flushed from crying and the kissing, but Gus liked it. The moment Marcus and the pack made some money, you know what I bought? I bought fancy shoelaces and a suspender with my first real pay. Really? Mind you, leather shoelaces and those pansy suspenders were quite expensive back then. Then a month later, my shoes got ruined in a wolf fight, so the shoelaces were useless. But for that month, I felt like a respectable-looking gentleman. He hugged her from behind. His hands roamed her body, settling on her breast. If these laces make you feel good, you should cherish them. Thanks, Gus, for making me feel beautiful. You are. Reluctantly, he let her go. Rose went to the flea market to buy clothes. Her clothes weren't fitting anymore. Also, many of them were well worn. Nina told her about this alley that had good second-hand clothes shop and even had vintage pieces. She was able to buy some new skirts and tops that had a bohemian vibe but didn't scream costume. She then went to the laundromat to wash it along with her week's clothing. When she came back to her tent, Gus had a free spa treatment voucher for her. She smiled. It was still early. Normally she started at 3. Lately she's been starting at 10 in the morning to make more money. It was 11:30. Nothing could be done with an empty stomach, so she enjoyed her lunch at the cafeteria, chatting with some employees of the resort while she was there. After lunch she went to the spa for a massage. The seaweed treatment and 20 minutes in the sauna was divine. She'd never been to a proper spa before. This was a real treat. After the spa, she went to the coffee cup for some tea. Coffee cup. Rose had to mentally prepare herself. Knowing it was time, she did a revelation spread for herself. She used her custom oracle cards and laid out the simple three-card spread. This represented past, future, and obstacle. For her past, she drew the storm cards, the upheaval she experienced in her growing up years. Future, it was the heart, her desire to be loved and accepted. The obstacle, the shadow card. She knew it, but she was blinded by her need for love. 10 years was too long. It was time. At 3:30, she packed up and left for her van. Elle was waiting beside her van. She didn't care how long he waited. It was now or never. He took her paper bags thinking it was food. He emptied out the newly laundered clothes. You went shopping? These clothes look funny. I suppose you need to look this way so your gullible customers would believe you. He never had anything nice to say. Not in the last 9 years. Let's go eat. I'm hungry. Get out. I already ate. That's fine. I haven't. Come on. He pulled her wrist, but she stood her ground. I'm tired. So let's grab something quick so we can sleep already. Go and eat yourself. I'm not going with you. What's the matter with you? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of living in a van and hoping for a brighter future. I'm tired of the promises you never keep. I'm tired of being beat up. I'm just tired. So do me a favor and go away. I never want to see you again. Huh. That's how it is. PMS this time of the month? I'll be back. No, Elle. I don't want you back. I don't want to see you ever again. This time you won't come back. But I'm your boyfriend. You never treated me as a girlfriend. My touch disgusts you. You take my money. You take my things. You beat me up. I don't want to see you again. She ground her teeth and enunciated each word. You'll love me, Rosie. You know you'll always come back. I know that. That's why it has to end. And end now. If he came back tomorrow and said some sweet promises that she was so desperate to believe, she'd accept him. It's those funny foreigners, isn't it? One of them sniffing you up? Maybe more than one? You know they're not human. They'll probably think you're their little pet. No, Elle. They value me and make me feel like part of the family. You didn't bother to try to work here. If you did, you'd see that everyone, foreign or not, became family here. You stupid pig. They'll get rid of you when you're no longer useful. This charade of reading cards is all fake. Is that what you think of my gifts? A charade? When you take my food, when you take my money, you think I get paid for charades? It was time. She pulled an iCard from her deck, a candle and a cleansing bouquet and matches. She lit the cleansing bouquet and the candle. She let the wax drip to the center of the eye before putting the lit bouquet over the card. The cleansing bouquet was made of different types of dried herbs and flowers. Rosie, what are you doing? You'll never be in my sights again, Elzo Marquez. You'll never be in my sights again, Elzo Marquez. You'll never be in my sights again, Elzo Marquez. At the third repeat of the spell, it was final. No! Elle felt invisible hands push him away from Rose. No, Rosie, no! Goodbye, Elle. And then he was gone. She breathed easier. Elle was a stone around her neck. She went in her van and had a good cry before she finally slept. Elle would never darken her door again. She was now a free woman. End of chapter 8. Hi everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed writing it. And I hope you join me for tomorrow as I read another chapter of Big Bad Wolf meets Big Beautiful Maid. So, bye for now, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, and please comment down below what you like, what didn't you like, any suggestions. This book is not yet finished. Thanks, everyone.